The different MDTs run slightly differently depending on the number of patients discussed. They could be anything from, I think the shortest one is half an hour, but typically an average MDT for us runs around 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And there are certain MDTs which run for 4 hours, believe it or not. So you can imagine having to physically sit through all that time. Not all of our cases discussed at the MDT are,
Up, but
need our
I
presence
find
there.
from MDTs that the room gets packed with so many people you don't know, and their roles are quite, you don't know their roles. They're not, when this was first being rolled out, it was being sold as, essential people only. So a pathologist, a surgeon, a medic, the MDT coordinator, a specialist nurse. And so many MDTs have, got like 20, 25 people. And actually from a security issue, some of them, you don't know who they are. And I think somewhere in the UK, I think it was up in Scotland, a journalist had snuck into an MDT, and nobody knew about it because people are just turning up in rooms, whereas this is more secure because you have to actually be invited, or you have to, if you want to join an MDT, you actually have to contact the coordinator and say, please, can I be part of this MDT? So I think it would make it more secure as well as more efficient. And I think COVID's kind of forced our hand, because for years some of us have vocalised to various clinicians trying to streamline MDTs. Well, we need to improve it, we need to do X, Y, Z, and nothing's ever happened. But now COVID's actually forced it to happen, which is one of the few benefits of the virus, I think.
At the very outset, I managed to get COVID, so I was at home for 2 weeks, but well. So I was able to link straight into two of my MDTs who took it on very quickly with Teams. Everyone was out of the room as soon as they could. So it worked very well. So I could still do my MDTs from home, and I could still see all the radiology. All the other benefits were there. I was able to show slides. Sorry, I wasn't able to show slides. I could show some digital images and things if needed. So that made a huge difference. But there were some other MDTs that were slightly slower on the uptake because they like the physical face-to-face, and they weren't quite so sure of the sort of the IT side. And so there has been a variation. And again, that's the same with how slick the different MDTs are. The people who are completely into it, it all goes pretty straightforward. It's nice and streamlined. And the guys who are taken up a bit slower, it's clunky. Then it almost justifies their arguments against doing it, even though actually there are so many arguments for doing it. Even after COVID, we hope that we'll at least be able to continue either a bit of both, or just virtually, because there's so many benefits. I must say, another thing that I've found, even outside the MDT, so there might be cases where you don't need the whole MDT team, but I would like to discuss something with a radiologist, for example. I've had those discussions through Teams, so he can show me the radiology and talk me through it. I can actually show him some macroscopic pictures of a specimen and we can correlate together. We've never been able to do that before. And I don't want to be having that discussion in an MDT meeting because it wastes time for everyone else when it's not relevant to them. And that's another beauty of a virtual MDT, is all the anecdotes, all of that general stuff that wastes time disappears, because it just focuses the mind a bit, because you're not sitting there eating your lunch, having a chat and let's talk about this and what are you doing at the weekend. And actually we need to just this is a business meeting, we need to get through it and get it done and make the right decisions. So I'm a huge fan of it, but I'll let the other two have a go and see. They may completely disagree.
I'm somebody who has been a bit reluctant to embrace digital path. I like the feel of the slides and looking down the resolution, etc. So what I found is I'm not very tech savvy. Once I was shown how to utilize Microsoft, actually it's really easy even for me. It's fairly straightforward. I don't do as many MDTs as my colleagues do. I'm in paediatrics, but I do both tumour and non-tumour MDTs. I found that it's gone down really well in the paediatric oncology MDT. in which I can see far better the radiology as well, because I'm sitting at an angle in the main room that Vipul was talking about. So I don't see it as well as the others. The others of my clinical colleagues have commented actually they can see the radiology much better themselves than even in the meetings. I've had a separate microscope issue where I can't show the microscopy directly from my room, but if I'm organised enough, I now know how to show the really good resolution on the scanner if I've got scanned slides in. So from that point of view, it's brilliant. And then reflecting on something that Charlie said, I've got an obstetrician who's going to ring me later, invite me on Microsoft Teams. We've got a very complex case. It's not often seen, and to sort of convey my microscopy and then him understanding what he thought he was seeing at surgery with the cut specimen on macro is ideal. So that's going to happen later today, actually. And now it's easy for me. I've got a MDT I've been invited to join in London. So then accessing external national MDTs is far easier as well, not just talking about the microscopy, trying to get them to imagine it. I can actually convey that. So actually from somebody who's been very reluctant to embrace it, I've actually quite positive about it now. So that's good.
I think everyone's going to want to keep it. I genuinely think the vast majority of clinicians, people like us, support services, think it is fantastic. Can I just add that after Ellie was speaking, one other huge benefit that I've noticed as well is from the education point of view. Yes, there's a lot of questionable people in that MDT room. What there often aren't is many trainees, because there's never enough space. It's quite an intimidating place when you don't really know who everyone is as a trainee. Yet what we get with teams, they can come on, they're muted, they have to be invited, so it's safe. They're muted, you can't see them, so they're not interfering, they're not getting errors, but they're listening in and learning from that MDT, which they very rarely did in the other ones. So that I have noticed. But no, I think it's just a question of continuing to improve and making it easier and easier, and it will be adopted.